The night sky above the human colony was dark and wide, stars shining like tiny eyes. The town was quiet, but one soldier was still awake. His name was Daniel. He was on guard near the border wall. Far away, he saw a small figure moving slowly. It looked weak, almost falling to the ground. Daniel raised his weapon at first, thinking it was a spy or enemy scout. But when the figure came closer, he saw something he had never seen before. It was a girl, but not a human girl. Her skin had a faint silver glow. Her eyes were large and shining blue, and her hair looked like threads of light. She was trembling, hungry and tired. Her clothes were torn, her arms shaking as she tried to walk. Daniel lowered his weapon slowly. "Who are you?" he asked. His voice was calm, but inside his heart was racing. The girl looked at him but said nothing. Her lips moved, but no sound came. Finally, in a broken voice, she whispered, "Please, food." Daniel was shocked. This alien girl was not dangerous. She was starving. He called another guard, and together they helped her inside the colony. People gathered around, whispering. Some were afraid, some were angry. "Why bring her here? She is not human," one man shouted. But Daniel ignored them. He brought the girl to a small house near the wall. Inside lived a kind woman named Maria and her young son Jacob. Maria gasped when she saw the alien girl, but she quickly understood. She gave her bread and water. The girl ate slowly, her eyes wide with fear. Jacob, the small boy, came closer. He held out a wooden toy. It was a small carving of a horse. The alien girl looked confused. She had never seen such a gift before. Jacob smiled and said softly, "You can keep it." For the first time, the girl's face changed. Her eyes softened. She held the toy close to her chest. She did not know why, but her heart felt warm, something she had never felt be. 4 days passed. The girl stayed in Maria's house. The people of the colony argued. Some said, "Send her away, she will bring danger." Others said, "She is only a child, she needs help." The alien girl remained quiet. She did not understand why these humans cared. At night, she would look at the stars from the window. Her homeworld was gone, destroyed by war. She had no family left, no place to call home. But here, in this strange human colony, she felt something new. Daniel came often to check on her. He tried to speak with her, teaching her simple human words. She learned slowly. Her voice was soft, but each day she spoke a little more. She told him her name, Lyra. One evening, Daniel sat by the fire in Maria's house. He asked, "Why were you alone? Where is your family?" Lyra looked down, her eyes filled with tears. She whispered, "No family. No one." Maria reached out and touched her hand gently. "You are not alone now," she said. The words were simple, but they carried deep meaning. Lyra did not understand at first, but she felt something in her heart shift. The next day, when Jacob ran outside to play, Lyra followed him. At first she was shy, but when Jacob laughed, she laughed too. Her laugh sounded strange but sweet. The other children stared at her, but Jacob took her hand and said, "She is with me." From that moment, Lyra began to feel a little safer. She still feared the whispers of the colony. She still wondered if she truly belonged. But each day she stayed, she saw kindness in small ways. A loaf of bread, a smile, a blanket by the fire. Still, one question burned in her heart. Why? Why would these humans give her safety when she was not one of them? She could not answer it, but she knew she had to stay, at least until she understood. Late one night, Daniel stood guard outside the house. He looked at the stars, then at the small window where Lyra slept. He thought to himself, "She is not just an alien, she is a child who has lost everything." And in that quiet moment, a bond was born, a bond that neither of them yet understood, but one that would change both their lives forever. Lyra sat by the window in Maria's house, her hands held tightly around the wooden horse Jacob had given her. The toy was small, but to her it felt heavy with meaning. She had never owned something that was given with kindness. But outside the walls, voices were growing louder. People of the colony gathered and argued. "She should not be here," one man shouted. "She will bring danger to us." Another woman whispered, "What if her people come searching? What if we all die because of her?" The fear in their words reached Lyra's ears. She looked at Maria and Daniel. She wondered, Were they protecting her now, only to hand her over later? At night, when Maria and Jacob were asleep, Lyra sat awake, her mind filled with doubt. Humans smiled, but she remembered how her own kind had betrayed each other during war. She asked herself, could humans be the same? Was this only a trick? The next morning, Daniel came with food. He smiled and asked how she was, but she did not answer. She only stared at him, trying to read his heart. His kindness confused her. She wanted to trust, but she feared too much. Later that day, she walked through the colony with Jacob. Children played around them, some stared, some whispered. A few even laughed at her strange silver skin. One boy pushed her shoulder and said, "You don't belong here," Jacob shouted back. "She is my sister." But the laughter of the other children cut deep into Lyra's heart. That night, she sat outside alone. She held the wooden horse and whispered, "Family. What is family?" The whispers of the colony grew stronger. A group of men came to Daniel demanding answers. "Send her away," they said. "She is a danger to us all." Daniel refused, but their anger did not stop. One man warned, "If you keep her, you will bring death to us." Lyra overheard their words. Her body shook with fear. She thought, maybe it is true. Maybe I am only danger to these people. If I leave, they will be safe. The next night, under the cold moon, Lyra decided she would run. She quietly packed nothing, only holding the wooden horse close. She stepped out of Maria's house, her heart heavy. Her feet carried her toward the gate. But as she reached the edge of the colony, a small voice called out, "Lyra!" She turned and saw Jacob standing there. His small face was pale in the moonlight. He held no toy, no food, only his trembling hands. "Why are you leaving?" he asked softly. Lyra lowered her eyes. "Because I don't belong," she whispered. "Your people don't want me. They fear me. They hate me." Jacob walked closer and shook his head. "Not me," he said. His voice was weak but full of courage. "You are my sister. You are family. If you go, I will follow you." Her eyes widened. For the first time, she saw no fear in human eyes, only love. That word again, family, the same word Maria had said, the same word Jacob now gave with his whole heart. She stood frozen, tears shining in her blue eyes. She wanted to believe, but doubt still pulled her away. In the distance, a howl echoed, not human, not friendly. Something was out there in the dark. Jacob looked toward the forest, then at her. "Please don't go," he whispered. "You are safer here with us." Lyra's heart pounded. The sound in the forest grew closer. Her choice was clear: leave and face the unknown, or stay and face the fear of belonging. As the night wind howled through the colony, Lyra's hand shook. She slowly reached down, and for the first time, she took Jacob's hand in hers. His small fingers closed around hers, warm and strong. In that moment, something changed. Not fully trust, not fully belief, but the first step. Toward it, but in the shadows of the forest, glowing red eyes appeared, watching the colony walls. Whatever hunted out there had found its way close, and Lyra's choice to stay would soon lead her into a storm of danger that no one was ready for. The night was heavy with silence, only broken by the low growl that came from the forest. Lyra stood frozen near the colony wall, Jacob still holding her hand. His small body trembled, but his eyes never left hers. Daniel came running with his torch when he heard the sound. Behind him, other guards rushed with weapons ready. They looked into the dark trees, red eyes glowing back at them, dozens of them. "It's the night hunters," one soldier whispered. Fear spread quickly. These creatures were killers, moving in packs. They could tear through villages in minutes. The people of the colony began to panic. Some shouted, "It's because of her. She brought them here." Their anger fell on Lyra like stones. Her heart sank. Was it true? Had she cursed them by staying? Daniel stepped in front of her. "Enough," he shouted. "This is not her fault." But the fear of the crowd did not calm. They pulled back their children, hiding them behind walls. The hunters crept closer, glowing eyes shining like fire in the night. The colony gates shook as one of the beasts slammed against them. Growls and screams filled the air. Lyra's chest tightened. Her legs shook. She wanted to run, but when she looked down, she saw Jacob. He was gripping her hand so tightly, he whispered, "Don't leave me, sister." At that moment, something inside her changed. She had been running her whole life from war, from loss, from fear, but now a human child was asking her to stay, and she could not run anymore. The gate cracked, wood splintered, the hunters roared. Daniel raised his weapon. "Hold the line," he ordered, but his voice carried more fear than strength. Without thinking, Lyra stepped forward. Her silver skin glowed faintly in the moonlight. Her eyes brightened, deep blue turning almost white. Everyone stared. She raised her hot hands and whispered words in her alien tongue. A sudden light burst from her palms, a wave of energy that pushed the hunters back for a moment. The crowd gasped. Daniel's eyes widened. No one had known she carried such power, not even she. The hunters regrouped, growling louder. But now the people no longer looked only with fear. They saw hope. They saw a weapon that could save them. "Use it," one man shouted. "Protect us." Another cried, "She is with us. Fight." Lyra's heart raced. She had never used this energy before. It burned inside her, sharp and painful. But when Jacob's small voice whispered again, "Please don't let them take us," she screamed and unleashed the light once more. A bright wave cut through the dark. Hunters cried out and scattered. Some fell. Some ran back into the forest. The gates stood, though broken. The colony survived the first strike. When the night grew quiet again, the people stood in stunned silence. Lyra fell to her knees, exhausted. The wooden horse fell from her hands into the dirt. Jacob quickly picked it up and pressed it back into her arms. "You saved us," he whispered. "You are family." But in the shadows, not all humans looked with gratitude. Some looked with fear. One man muttered, "If she has this power, what else can she do? What if one day she turns it on us?" Lyra heard the words. Her heart shook. She had saved them. Yet still some did not accept her. Suspense filled the air. Was she a savior, or was she a danger? Daniel helped her stand, his voice firm. "You are not alone. Remember that." But his eyes too carried worry. He knew this was only the beginning. If the hunters could come once, they could come again. And worse, others in the galaxy would soon learn of the alien girl with power who now stood under human protection. The night hunters were gone, but the fear of the colony remained. Broken gates stood as a reminder of how close death had come, and at the center of it all was Lyra, the alien girl with glowing hands. Some people called her savior, whispering, "She protected us." Others looked with suspicion, whispering, "She is too dangerous." The village was divided. Maria stood strong beside Lyra. She cooked warm bread and said, "You are part of this house now. No one can take that from you." Lyra looked at her with confusion. Her heart wanted to believe, but her mind was filled with doubt. Jacob was different. He never doubted. He followed Lyra everywhere, holding her hand, showing her toys, teaching her human words. When children mocked her silver skin, Jacob stood in front of her and shouted, "She is my sister." His small courage made her heart ache in ways she did not understand. One evening, Daniel came to Maria's house. He brought maps and papers. "The hunters will return," he said. "We need defenses. We need every hand." His eyes turned to Lyra, including hers. Lyra shook her head, her voice soft. "I don't know how. I never used this power before. It hurts me when I try." Daniel leaned forward, his voice steady. "Then we learn together." For the first time, Lyra felt like someone believed in her strength. Not just as a weapon, but as part of them. She agreed to train. Days turned into weeks. Lyra trained with Daniel in secret fields beyond the colony walls. She learned to call the energy inside her, to shape it, to release it. At times it burned, at times it nearly broke her. But each time she fell, Jacob was there with the wooden horse, whispering, "You can do it." Slowly the bond between them grew, not just trust, but something deeper. Lyra began to smile more, laugh more. Her alien voice carried joy that even the suspicious villagers could hear. Some of their hearts began to soften. One night, Maria sat by the fire with Lyra. She told her stories of human families. "Family is not only blood," she said. "Family is choice. Family is love." Lyra listened, her yes wide, she whispered. Family, tasting the word like it was new and powerful. But peace did not last. One evening, strangers arrived at the colony gates, tall men in dark cloaks, carrying strange symbols. They spoke with the council. Their voices were harsh. "We know you hide one of them. Give her to us." Lyra's blood froze. She watched from the shadows. These were not hunters. They were worse. They were servants of the alien empire that had destroyed her world. They wanted her back, not for kindness, but for control. The council hesitated. Some leaders said, "We must protect her." Others whispered, "If we give her away, we avoid war." The colony cracked again with fear and division. Lyra felt her chest tighten. She looked at Maria, Daniel, and Jacob. Would they betray her now? Would they hand her to the ones who burned her home? That night, Maria found Lyra sitting alone in the dark, her voice shaking. Lyra asked, "If I am danger, will you give me away?" Maria pulled her close, whispering, "You are my daughter now. We will never let them take you." Tears filled Lyra's eyes. She held the wooden horse close. For the first time in her life, she began to believe the word family. But outside the walls, the strangers were not leaving. They camped near the forest, waiting, their cloaks moving in the wind, their eyes cold. The colony was now standing on the edge of a storm, and Lyra, once just a lost girl, was now the spark that could decide whether the humans would rise together as family or break apart in fear forever. The strangers in dark cloaks waited outside the colony for 3 long days. They lit no fire. They sang no song. They only watched. Their presence was heavy like a shadow pressing on every heart inside the walls. The council gathered each night, voices sharp with fear. Some said, "If we give her to them, we will be safe." Others shouted, "She is under our roof. She is one of us now." The argument tore the people apart. Lyra heard the whispers everywhere she went. When she walked through the market, mothers pulled their children away. When she fetched water, men turned their backs. One woman spat near her feet and muttered, "We will all die because of you." Her chest felt heavy. Was she really the cause of this fear? She thought of leaving again, disappearing into the forest, but each time Jacob ran to her, holding her hand, his voice soft but strong. "Stay. You are family." One night, as the moon shone over the colony, Daniel discovered something. He found one of the councilmen near the gates, speaking secretly with the strangers outside. His voice carried words that cut like knives. "Tomorrow night, I will open the gate, take her, and leave us be." Daniel's blood froze. Betrayal. The man was ready to sell Lyra to save his own people. Daniel confronted him in the dark, but the councilman sneered. "She is not human. She does not belong. Why should we risk our children for her?" Daniel's fist clenched, but before he could act, the man slipped away into the shadows. Daniel returned to Maria's house, his voice low but fierce. He told them everything. Lyra's eyes filled with tears. Maria held her tight, whispering, "We will not let them take you." The next day, the colony was filled with strange tension. People avoided each other's eyes. Weapons were kept close. Rumors grew like fire. That night, the attack came. The gate creaked, then opened slowly, not by force, but by betrayal. The cloaked strangers stepped inside, their boots silent, their eyes glowing in the moonlight. But Daniel was ready. His soldiers were waiting. Arrows flew, torches lit the sky. The strangers hissed, drawing dark weapons that hummed with alien energy. In the chaos, Lyra was dragged from her bed. Rough hands pulled her through the dirt. She cried out, struggling. Her silver skin burned under their grip. "Family," she whispered, reaching out. And Jacob, hearing HFY, her cry, ran into the night without fear. He threw himself at the men holding her, shouting, "Let her go, she is my sister." One of the strangers raised a blade, aiming for Jacob. Lyra screamed. Her power burst out like fire. A wave of blue light knocked the attackers back. The boy fell into her arms, safe but trembling. The colony erupted in battle. Men and women fought with torches, spears, and stones. Daniel's sword clashed with alien steel. Sparks lit the night. Maria threw herself between Lyra and danger, crying, "Over my body!" The traitor councilman appeared, pointing at Lyra. His voice rang with hate. "See, this is what she brings. Death, war, destruction." He raised a blade to strike her down himself. But before the blow could fall, Daniel struck. His sword cut the man's weapon from his hand. His voice thundered, "She is ours. She is family." The people saw, and something shifted. In that moment, they no longer stood divided. They fought as one, protecting not just their homes, but the alien girl who had become part of them. The strangers pulled back, hissing like snakes. Their leader growled, "This is not the end. She belongs to us. We will return." With that, they vanished into the forest, leaving fire and blood behind. The colony stood shaken but alive. Lyra sat by the broken gate, Jacob in her arms, Maria and Daniel at her side. Her heart pounded with confusion. They had fought for her, bled for her. Even when some had betrayed her, others stood like a wall. Her whisper was soft but strong. Family. She was beginning to believe the word was real, but deep in the forest the strangers gathered, sending signals into the sky. Far away, beyond the stars, something answered. A greater storm was now coming, and Lyra's bond with humanity would be tested like never before. The forest was silent after the battle, but silence did not bring peace. Above the Balda's sky, strange red lights blinked like distant stars, but they were not stars. They were signals, calling something greater. Lyra stood by the broken gate, her silver skin faint in the torchlight. Her heart beat fast. She had fought. She had saved Jacob, but fear still clung to her. If the strangers could call more, then what was coming next? Daniel spoke to the council. His voice was strong. "We cannot run. We cannot give her away. We fight." Some nodded, but others shook their heads in fear. "If they bring ships," one man said, "we are finished." Maria stepped forward, holding Jacob close, her voice firm. "Better to die as family than to live as cowards." The words carried through the crowd, and for the first time, the colony stood more united than divided. That night, Lyra could not sleep. She sat outside staring at the stars. She whispered, "Why me? Why do they want me?" Daniel sat beside her, his voice low. "Because you are strong. Because you are hope." The next morning, the sky broke open. A ship descended, black and sharp like a blade. It landed beyond the forest, shaking the earth. From it came armored soldiers, hundreds of them carrying weapons that glowed with alien fire. The colony shook with terror. People grabbed their children. Some cried, "We cannot win this." But Daniel raised his sword high. "We will fight." The battle began at sunrise. The alien soldiers marched toward the gate. Their leader, tall and cold, pointed at Lyra. "She is ours." Arrows flew from the walls, torches burned, but the enemy was strong. Their weapons cut through wood and stone. Screams filled the air. The colony was breaking. Lyra felt the fear pressing down on her. She wanted to run, but Jacob's small voice cried out, "Sister, don't leave me." That word again, family. She stepped forward, her body glowing with light. Energy surged through her veins. Stronger than ever before, she raised her hands. A wave of power shot out, burning through the alien soldiers, throwing them back into the dire. The people gasped. Hope returned for a moment, but the enemy leader raised his hand and struck her with a weapon of dark energy. Lyra cried out, falling to the ground. Her body shook, pain tearing through her. Daniel ran to her side, covering her with his shield. Maria pulled Jacob close. The colony fought harder, trying to protect them. Lyra struggled to rise. Her vision blurred. She thought, "If I fall, they will all die." She gripped the wooden horse Jacob had pressed into her hands. She whispered, "Family," and her body erupted in light. The sky itself seemed to crack. A storm of blue energy spread from her, burning the soldiers, shattering their weapons. The enemy screamed, but still they pushed forward. Lyra knew she could not hold the power forever. It was tearing her apart inside. But she stood firm. Her voice broke as she shouted, "I will not let you take them." The colony saw her standing in the center of the storm, her small body glowing like a star. Daniel and his soldiers formed a circle around her, fighting with every last breath. The enemy leader charged, his blade raised, but before he could strike, Maria threw herself in the way. The blade cut deep into her side. Her scream filled the air. "Mother," Jacob cried. Lyra's eyes widened with fury and grief. She screamed. Her light exploded like fire across the battlefield. The soldiers fell back, blinded, the ground itself shaking. The enemy ship roared, engines burning as the leader called retreat. "This is not over," he growled. His words vanished into the sky as the ship lifted away. The battlefield was silent again, but not with peace. Maria lay on the ground, bleeding. Daniel knelt by her side, his face pale. Jacob sobbed. Holding her hand, Lyra fell to her knees, her energy fading. She looked at Maria, tears in her glowing eyes. Maria smiled weakly, whispering, "Now you see family, Mia. And giving everything, even life itself." Lyra's heart broke. She had found a family, and now she was watching it slip away. The dawn broke over the battlefield. Smoke still rose from the burned earth. The air was heavy with the scent of fire and blood. The colony stood broken, but alive. Maria lay on a bed inside her small house. Her wound was deep, but she still breathed. Jacob never left her side, holding her hand, his small face pale with fear. Lyra sat near the door, her silver skin dim, her body weak after the storm of light she had unleashed. Her heart felt heavy with guilt. She whispered, "This is my fault. They came for me. She is hurt because of me." Daniel knelt in front of her. His voice was sharp but steady. "No, they came because they fear what you are. They came because you are powerful. But we fight because you are one of us." Outside, the people gathered. They were tired, wounded, afraid, yet their eyes turned toward the small house where Lyra sat. Once they whispered against her. Now they spoke differently. "She fought for us," one said. "She saved us," another added. Even those who once spat at her now lowered their heads in shame. The colony was no longer divided. That evening, Maria opened her eyes. Her voice was weak, but she smiled at Lyra. "Do you understand now?" she whispered. Lyra leaned close, tears glowing in her eyes. "Family," she said softly. "It means we do not walk alone." Maria nodded. "Yes, and you are my daughter now." The words broke the wall inside Lyra's heart. She wept, holding Maria's hand. For the first time in her life, she no longer felt like a stranger in the universe. She felt home. Days passed. The colony rebuilt, stronger than before. The gates were reforged, the houses repaired, and in every corner the people looked at Lyra not with fear, but with respect. Children followed her, asking to see her light. Jacob laughed beside her, shouting proudly, "She is my sister." Women gave her bread. Men nodded to her with honor. She was no low, stranger, an outsider. But far beyond the stars, the enemy still watched. The alien empire had tasted her power and would not forget. Yet the colony was ready. Humanity was ready. They had faced the storm and learned the truth. One night, Daniel stood with Lyra at the rebuilt gate. The stars stretched endless above them. "More will come," he said quietly. "More enemies, stronger than before." Lyra looked at him, her voice firm. "Then we will face them, as family." Her eyes shone bright, not only with alien power, but with human strength, the strength of belonging, the strength of love. As the wind carried the sound of children laughing inside the colony, Lyra finally knew. She was not alone anymore. She was home, and for the first time, she understood the true power of humanity, not weapons, not war, but the bond of family that could never be broken.